Originally, I was going to make a video about double standards because I just saw a case where a 13-year-old boy impregnated a woman and she's getting zero jail time for it. And when I looked into the stats, a lot of women who are involved in sexual assault cases with children, only like 30% of them go to jail and the rest get like supervised probation. And over 50% of men end up getting sent to prison, under 40% for women, around 35% get the probation and the supervision I was talking about, while men, 30% of them, less than 30% of them get it. But when I started looking into it, and that's old data, that's from 2005, but when I looked into it, it just doesn't make any sense. I think pedophiles in general, and I'm going to specifically be talking about them because I personally think that pedophiles deserve the death penalty. Why do I think that? Well, first of all, if you're touching kids, I think you deserve it. Now, I understand the issue with the death penalty, so let's go ahead and get rid of the fringe cases. Obviously, some context matters. I think in 99% of cases, it doesn't matter the context, you're really touching kids. But the definition of child, like if we're talking about a 17-year-old to a 19-year-old, obviously, I don't think that deserves the same type of punishment. Um, but overall, I think sex offenders are getting off too easy. They don't actually get a lot of jail time for what they do. A lot of them don't even go to jail. They get put on a list, and a lot of them are repeat offenders. And I personally think that when you're doing these things to children, it's worse than murder. Now, I already know that's going to be maybe a controversial take, and especially with the death penalty, because I know people don't believe in the death penalty. And it's already weird considering that the death penalty affects black people more often than not, and there's a lot of wrongful convictions associated with that. But if we have 100% proof, and that's what I would change it to, there has to be absolutely no doubt. We have to have definitive proof. If we have definitive proof that you're touching children, man or woman, I think you deserve the death penalty because these children that get now, I really need to emphasize this. People think that like when boys get touched or whatever, that it's less traumatic for them. It's not. It's not at all. They go through the same issues. They have the same trauma. I know growing up, boys will talk about some of their teachers. They'll say some things and that they want to do things with their children. Okay, at the end of the day, they're children, and they're gonna have dumb thoughts. If you think it's okay, or if you think they should get less punishment, or you think you should be high-fiving, you're part of the problem. Um, yeah, I don't see, I don't see any reasonable, I don't see any reason that a pedophile should be able to get out of jail. I feel like you should be in jail for life because you just ruined that child's life. And why am I saying that they ruin their life? Well, children who get touched, they tend to have nothing is a guarantee. I'm not saying if you get touched that these things, you're going to do these things. What I'm saying is you're more likely to do these things, or you're more likely to be vulnerable, right? This is not something there's research behind it. So it starts when you're young, right? So here's another thing that's a double standard that I personally believe should change as well. And it's gonna be a crazy switch, but I'm comparing the two for a reason. So men or boys aren't supposed to cry. Now, I know a lot of people say you can cry, this, that, and the other, and I 100% believe that if you want to cry, you should cry. Don't let someone tell you you can't cry because you're not a man if you don't cry. But even with me believing that, I'm still hesitant. Hesitant is the wrong word. I don't think I will. Like, it's not that I won't cry, but I refuse to cry. And if I do cry, I'm not going to do it in front of anybody. And even it just shows that even though I'm someone who wouldn't shame someone for that, I think it's a stupid thing to teach children. I think it's a stupid thing to teach anybody, but it's so ingrained that like even with me thinking that it should be okay, I can't help but hesitate. And I'm bringing that up because when you touch a child, the research shows that these children have to live with that for the rest of their life. For the rest of their life, they're dealing with that. And the ways that it can manifest negatively is some of them become sex offenders themselves, some of them go and kill themselves, some of them, it's a tough topic. Some of them, well, they're more likely to have they have a higher divorce rate. It's just there's just a lot of things that can go wrong for them and that there are it's just harder for them to deal with. And when I put all that together and then I see some sex offenders get out after 2 years, why are you able to be free? 2 years. And then you go and look and a lot of these people are repeat offenders. I don't know. I spent a lot of time thinking about how I should say this, and there's no right way to say it. I just think they should die. Um, now through the court system, I don't think anybody should take this in their own hands. The reason I'm saying that, and I want to explain this as well, is because all I thought when I'm talking about this, all I could think about was, what if a child that I was responsible for and I caught somebody red-handed? What would I do? God forbid. And the only thing that comes on my mind is I would go to jail for murder. But we can't allow that to be okay. Like, for example, I know there's a case where some dude nearly beat the life out of someone and then he got charged with assault and everybody was mad about that. In fact, I don't even think he should have been charged with something like that. But I understand why. Because if something can be taken advantage of it will, right? And I'm not saying the justice system doesn't get taken advantage of, but it's harder to take advantage of that system than it is of that. Because what you could end up doing is start lying and then give a reason to murder somebody, right? And so we can never give that to, an average person sitting on the street, but we can give it to the justice system and let them decide. Um, and I think if you change the rules around it, a lot of it would be okay. Now, I know that's harsh. I don't think it's harsh, but I know some of you will think it's harsh. I want to know why. Why is it too far? Am I going too far? Do you just think death is always the worst thing that can happen? I don't know if I necessarily can really disagree when you really logically reason it out, but emotionally, I can't I'm not on the same page. I can't I can't I can't. I think one is definitely worse than the other. I understand reasonings for why someone would argue differently, but at the end of the day, the punishments going out to these people are too light. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I crazy for saying this? Do you guys agree? Like usual, in the description below, I'll put up stuff for other content, articles I've referenced, videos I've referenced. Appreciate you guys for watching. I'll be back tomorrow.